Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to StudyMoon.com, and we are now live. And we have once again got our friends Mark Webb and Cyrus Harding. Uh, I have finally been able to catch those two greased pigs at the country fair and get them together in one room at the same time. This has been very hard to do, very hard to do. And I appreciate both your time being here today. Um, I know how hard this is because we all got stuff we're trying to do. So, welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Cyrus,
Yes, sir.
start this off with the opening prayer, would you please, sir?
Yes, sir. My privilege. Gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you. You are the creator of all, and it is your power and your might to change things in the world. You change the stars, you move the heavens, and it's all under your control. And we come before you, Father, and we ask you that you would be with this meeting, be with each and every one viewing this meeting, that you would touch their hearts, that there would be something said that might cheer them up. There might be something said that would encourage them to go on and do more. We pray, Father, that this will be done according to your will, that there will be those who may realize they have something missing in their life, and so they might search the scripture out, or they may turn to these two brothers and ask questions of them. Father, I'd like to lift up a young child as a prayer request. Harper has pneumonia. Pete, please be with her tiny body, Father, and watch over her and care for her and lift up her family as well. We now commit ourselves to you, and what we say would be what you would have us to say, and nothing else. And we ask this in your name and that of your Son, Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Cyrus. I just again, I want to introduce you. This is Mark Webb, and Mark Webb is he's a guy that always comes on after we turn off the mic and says, "Oh, I got something else I want to talk to you about," and then he gets us so stinking fired up. So, what was it? 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Mark is emailing Cyrus me. I got something I got to show you. So he said, let's just have a private meeting. No, I don't want a private. Let's do this live. No, he said, just a private meeting. See if it's any good. And he showed both Cyrus and me. And next thing you know, Cyrus and I both got our jaws on the floor going, and I get mad. Why didn't we record this? It was awesome. And then, so today.
Well, so to add to that, you and Cyrus had asked me, one of you asked for something, if I saw anything in the heavens for 2023, the other one wanted 2024, and I hadn't seen anything. I just didn't see anything. And then finally, I saw two comments that I hadn't seen before that both were in these two years that you're both looking for. And so that's why I wanted to call to see if this would be of something of importance. And you both said yes.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know what's going on here, Mark and Cyrus have a private meeting without me because they didn't want me involved in it. More stuff. And so anyway, I'm excited to have them here and I hope that you're going to see what Mark is presenting, corroborating what I've been teaching. And I'm going to represent that again for the new people that don't know about it. And and just for the record, Jehovah God or any of his angels have not come down and spoken in Joe Dumond and said, "Thus says the Lord." Anything that Joe Dumond is saying is the same thing that all of you can get when you open up this Bible and read it, right? That's all I'm doing. I have no angels coming to tap me on the shoulder. Mark, can you say the same thing?
Yeah, just what I see in that.
Where'd Cyrus? I lost Cyrus. There he is up here. And this is Cyrus's email address or his website page. Cyrus, have you got any angels talking to you or telling you stuff, thus says the Lord stuff?
Well, only my wife. But that's because she has to tell me what you guys say, and that way I can respond. No, I don't have the inside track on Angel.
The reason I'm bringing this up is I want to make sure that the listening audience understands we are just the same as you. We are reading our Bible. We are striving to understand. And when we see stuff, we want to share it. And the other thing that the three of us have in common is that we are not all on the same calendar, and we are still working to get along with each other. And we understand we have different calendars, and we take that into consideration in our conversations. So I'm saying that because there has been this calendar war. And when I present the calendar, I will fight for my position the same as they will fight for theirs. But, afterwards, we're still brothers.
Amen.
Okay. So again, is there anything else I need to add to that? That's enough, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What did I have up here before? No, not that. I forgot what banner I had up here. No banners. Okay, I'll figure out how to get rid of that. So what? What I do?
I'm starting to wear off on you, Brother Joe.
There we go. Yeah, it's called getting old. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to do here today is I want to present to you what I've been teaching, because some of you may not fully understand that, and why I'm watching certain things at a certain time. And I talked to both Mark and Cyrus, and they graciously said, go ahead. And it's going to be about 45 minutes. And I tried to shorten it up. I just can't. I'm just going to talk fast. When I talk fast, you got a videotape here. You can stop this, go back and listen to it again as many times as you want. But I want to get through so we don't drag this out too long. Okay? So we're going to start here with a PowerPoint presentation. And this is my teaching on the spousal and jubilee cycles and why they're so important. So in 2 Kings 19:29, this shall be a sign to you. You shall eat this year such things as grow of themselves. And in the second year, that which springs from the same. And in the third year, sow and reap and plant vineyards and eat the fruit thereof. And it's Mark and Cyrus. Can you guys see the comments? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
If anything comes up in there that you see that we should stop, let me know. So this is 2 Kings 19:29. It's the only place that Jehovah in the entire Bible gives you a sabbatical year, the 49th, and the 50th year, which is a Jubilee year. And it happens to be the most undisputed date in history. This verse is telling you how to figure out every single sabbatical year in history. It is also telling you how to figure out every single Jubilee year in history from this one verse. The year that you are to eat such things as grow themselves is the year 701 BC, and it is the 49th year, a sabbatical year. The second year that you are to eat, which springs up of the same, is the year 700 BC, and it is the 50th year, a Jubilee year. When you count by 7 from 701 BC, you will hit every sabbatical year throughout history, going forward and backward.
Joe,
yes, sir.
So that people will know, this scripture in Kings is, it's 701 because they give you the year of the reign of the king, right?
It's it's in relation to Hezekiah's reign here on earth.
Yes.
And it's in relation to Sennacherib's attack on Jerusalem. Yeah. And that is the most documented date in history, and everyone knows, all chronologists know that date. They will.
I wanted to be sure everybody knew that you knew it was 701 because there was documented evidence of this event.
Yes. I use some of the best known chronologists when I go to figure this stuff out, and they all agree. Some of the ones on the fringe don't agree, but you take it with a grain of salt. Which ones work? And now we've got 89 sabbatical jubilee years throughout history, and they all line up with 2 Kings 19:29 and 701 BC and 700 BC. They all line up. So I use all of history to prove it, not just one document. I just said what I just said there below. So when you count by 49 from 700 BC, you will hit every Jubilee year throughout history, going forward and backward. And when you do this, each and every known sabbatical year also will match, every single one. So we've got them all, as far as I know, and they all match. And I'm going fast because I'm trying to save time. We are told in Genesis that Jehovah is not going to keep on fighting with mankind. He has given us 120 Jubilee cycles, Genesis 6:3. And Jehovah said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, that's mankind. In his erring, he is flesh, yet his days shall be 120. The word is Shana, 120 years, cycles of time. There we go. Cycles of time. When you do the chronology from Adam to the Exodus, you plot those dates and you plot those days out in Jubilee cycles, you will see that the time of the Exodus took place was after the 50th Jubilee year since the creation of Adam. I'm going slow so you really understand what I'm saying here. The Exodus takes place after the 50th Jubilee cycle. Having done all this homework, you are now ready to properly address the prophecy of Daniel 9. So we do all this, and this slide presentation is only a part of a bigger presentation to get to Daniel 9:25. Know, therefore, you're to know and understand that from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem to Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. This is where everyone gets so balled up on. It's so simple to understand when you understand the truth. All Christian teachings ignore that the 7 weeks and the 62 weeks are two distinct periods of time. And they then make them 69 weeks in all of their theories. Daniel is not talking about the 7-day week from which everyone gets the 70 times 7 formula for their 490 years. The word Daniel is using is Shabuah and is the feminine of the word Shavuot for the Feast of Weeks. And that's the clue. Daniel was to hide this message till the end. Daniel is telling them to count 70 Feast of Weeks, which are 49 days in length. In other words, he's telling you to count 70 times 49. Do not forget that Daniel was told to seal up the books and the vision until the last days. This was so no one would understand until the time of the end. We are in the time of the end. Mark and Cyrus, you may have to mute your mics because I'm getting feedback. Daniel 8:28, and the vision of the evening and the morning, that which is told is true, but you shall shut up the vision, for it shall be for many days. Daniel 12:4, but you, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. This knowledge shall be increased. It's knowledge of Torah. Knowledge of the Torah shall be increased. It is now time to prove that Daniel 9:25 is speaking of 49s and not just 7s. How do you prove that? Daniel 9:25, know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem to Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. Again, there's two separate prophecies here. It is also now time to prove that Daniel 9:20 was never speaking about Yeshua, nor was it about counting 490 years from Darius, Cyrus, or Artaxerxes. Daniel was speaking about counting from when Moses spoke to Jehovah at the burning bush. Here are the 7 times Jehovah told Moses to go and get the people of Israel. So this is the command to go and get. Exodus 3:10. And now go, and I will send you to Pharaoh, that you may bring forth my people, the sons of Israel, out of Egypt. Verse 12, 3:12. And he said, I will be with you, and that this shall be the sign to you that I have sent you. When you have brought forth the people out of the, I can't see it, out of Egypt, you shall serve upon this mountain. So I got this little thing over top of my writing. I can't see it. Sorry. 3:16. Exodus 3:16, go and gather the elders of Israel. Exodus 3:17, and I said, I will bring you up out of the affliction of Egypt to the land of the Canaanites. Exodus 3:18, And they shall listen to your voice, and you shall come, you and the elders of Israel, to the king of Egypt. Exodus 4:12. And now go, I will be with your mouth and teach you what to say. Exodus 4:19. And Jehovah said to Moses, Midian, go, for crying out, go, Moses. How many times do I have to tell you? Get out of here. You are then told that from the burning bush, here's the big clue, from the command, from the burning bush, there would be 7 Jubilee cycles or 7 49s. Daniel 9:25. Know therefore and understand that from the going out of the command to restore and to build Jerusalem to Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks. This is not Yeshua, it's Messiah the Prince. Yeshua is a king. When we start counting from the Jubilee cycle of the burning bush and the Exodus, and we count 7 Jubilee cycles, we end up at, so I've done the chronology. The command to go and get the people is somewhere around 1383. We can argue whether it's 1384 or 1381. It's somewhere in here. Can you see my mouse, Mark or Cyrus? Do you see my mouse moving there? Yes? Okay. So that's Jubilee cycle number 1. Here's Jubilee cycle number 2. Jubilee cycle number 3. Jubilee cycle number 4. Jubilee cycle number 5, Jubilee cycle number 6, Jubilee cycle number 7, and after 7 brings you to Jubilee cycle number 8. David, the Messiah, the anointed one, was born in 1040, right here, BC. He was made king of Judah in 1010 BC and king over all of Israel in 1003 BC. Back here as a little boy, sometime in, I don't know, somewhere in this cycle, he was anointed by Samuel, the youngest son of Jesse. 3 times he was Mashiach. Mashiach, that means anointed. It doesn't mean Messiah, it means Mashiach. He was anointed. So that's King David. After 7 Jubilee cycles, we come to the time when King David was born in 1040 BC, and when he was anointed by Samuel as a child. He was anointed again when he became king over Judah in 1010, and again when he was made king over all of Israel in 1003. King David is the anointed prince. He is the Messiah, the prince Daniel is speaking about. And he came exactly after 7 Jubilee cycles, just as it says in Daniel 9:25. No fudging, no trying to fix the dates. Like everyone changes to 452 to 453 to 455, trying to fit their schedule into when Messiah was killed in 27 or 30 or 31 or 34. There's no fudging here. It's right there. Now, the second part of that prophecy, counting the 62 weeks or the 62 Jubilee cycles from the time when David brings us to the year 1996, Common Era. That's our time right now. 1996 was a Jubilee year and also the start of the 70th week or the 70th Shabuah of Daniel 9. 1996 also is the start of the 120th Jubilee cycle since the creation of Adam and is the end of this 6th millennial day of Genesis 6:3. I'll just leave that there. You can read it a little bit. Stop, pause the tape, listen to what we just said. This is the importance of Daniel 9:24 to 27. Daniel 9:25 speaks of another Mashiach, and after 62 weeks, Messiah, the anointed, not Messiah Yeshua, not Messiah Jesus Christ, it's the anointed, shall be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the ruler who shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. And the end of it shall be with a flood. And ruins are determined until the end shall be war. And after 62 weeks, so after 1996, the anointed, who are the anointed? It's not Jesus. He's not going to die again. The anointed are Israel, all 12 tribes, the apple of Jehovah's eye. Psalm 105:15, saying, touch not my anointed. Who's that? And do my prophets no harm. This verse tells you that Israel and her descendants, excuse me, are the anointed. Anointed is Mashiach, which is often translated as Messiah. It means anointed. The second anointed refers to all of Israel, and they are the ones who will be cut off and trampled underfoot. Daniel 9:26, and after 62 weeks, Messiah, Israel, shall be cut off, but not for themselves. And the people of the ruler who shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end of it shall be with a flood, and ruins are determined until the end shall be war. When the world is focused on the return of Jesus and not on repenting from not keeping the covenant, they will not understand why they are being destroyed. As Daniel 9:25 says, they will be. And I say the world, but I meant all 12 tribes of Israel. It is time to focus on returning to the covenant and keeping the commandments. We are about to be cut off. We are in the process of being cut off. And most people have no clue what is about to happen. So here's my little plug. You go and get the book. I'm talking about this in the book, yada, yada, yada. Go get the book. Here's how you figure out the combination of the sabbatical and Jubilee years. We only used 12 known sabbatical years at this time. When I wrote this book, we now have got 89. I want to encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel and our weekly newsletter. Okay, another little plug. Daniel 9:26. And after 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself. The 70th week is the 70th Jubilee cycle since Jehovah told Moses to go and get his people. So from the Exodus to right now are 70 Jubilee cycles. The 70th Jubilee cycle began in 1996 and goes until 2044. 2045, here's 2044 here, 1996 here. This is the 70th Jubilee cycle. It's also the 120th Jubilee cycle. 2045 is the start at Aviv 1. 2045 will be the start of the 7th millennium. So anyone that's telling you that 2022 is the year 6022 does not know chronology. We cannot be in the 7th millennium and still be having wars and no Messiah for 22 years. That's just insane. So go back, relook at your chronology because there's an error there. Double check what I'm saying. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong if you can. We have a little saying at our website, I'll shut up when you can prove me wrong. And nobody does. So here I am still talking. Love you guys. Okay. Daniel 9:27. And he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. That's 1 49-year period. And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the offering to cease. This is the whole I had to show you all this to get to this one verse. This is what got me excited when I started talking to Mark a few weeks ago. And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and the offering to cease. And on the corner of the altar, desolating abominations, even until the end, and that which has decreed, what's that say, shall be poured out on the desolator. So I'm coming out with the new book here called The Restoration of All Things. It's going to be released any day now. Our second book in the trilogy, the Elijah trilogy, is The Abomination That Makes Desolate. And we talk about this corner of the altar and show you exactly where that is today in Jerusalem. So I encourage you all to stay tuned to what Mark and Cyrus and I are saying. Subscribe to our newsletters and our books. Go to our websites, all 3 websites. Listen to what they're saying. You may not agree with everything. That's fine. Listen to what we're saying and compare it to the world news every night. So in the middle of this 70th week is 2020. Just tell me, Mark, is there a thing called Slides 109 here? Do you see that on your screen?
I don't see slide 109, no.
Okay, so it's just on my screen. Thank you. 2020, right here in the middle of the 70th week, in the midst of the 70th week, 1996 to 2044, in the middle is 2020. What did anything happen in 2020? I can't remember. We have been telling you, warning you about 2020 since 2005. Before I put anything into a book, I was telling people about this when I first learned it. Then I had to put it in the books. We did the Prophecy of Abraham. Then we did the sabbatical year. Remember the sabbatical year 2016. Then the 20 days of hell, the blood moons. We didn't put it in the riddle book. It was a riddle, not a command. We didn't put in the rapture, the mystery of the rapture 2033. We didn't do that. But we keep telling you over and over, watch 2020. Guess what? Something happened in 2020. It is on March 11th, 2020, when WHO, the World Health Organization, declared a worldwide pandemic. That same week, every church, every synagogue, every mosque, every temple, every religious place of worship around the world was shut down. The daily sacrifices of our lips had ceased. Now, this is Joe Dumond looking back and wondering if this scripture applies to this event. I have not had an angel tell me. I've not had any visions from God. Thus says the Lord. I am looking at this just the same as you are and saying, I wonder if this is what this means. Daniel 12, verse 11. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away and the desolating abomination set up, 1,290 days shall occur. Just in that verse alone, you know there's an Adar Bet, which is every Hebrew year has 12 months. And there's an Adar Bet in there in this one because it's got, instead of 360, it's 390. Not that every year is a 30-day month, but if you can't see the moon, it becomes a 30-day month. How does that all fit here? I'm just looking. If we are correct about the time when the daily is taken away, then the 1,290 days brings you to the fall feast in 2033. We just had an Adar Bet. I just had an Adar Bet. Again, we're on 3 different calendars here in 2022. The fall feast in 2023, winter. That is the winter time. The 7th month begins the winter season. We just had an Adar Bet in 2022, which the 1,290 days tells there will be one, okay. 2023 is also a Shemitah year, a sabbatical year of rest. That's also important. You'll see in a moment. And it is preceded by the closure of all the churches in March of 2020. Yes, everyone's starting to go back to church now. I understand that. Matthew 24, verse 15. Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Where is the holy place? Do you know where that is? Is it at the Temple Mount? Where is it? Do you know? This is what we're explaining in our next book, The Abomination of Desolation. Then let those in Judea flee into the mountain. Let him on the rooftop, on the housetop, not come down to take anything out of his house, nor let him in the field turn back to take any of his clothes. And woe to those who are with child, and to those who give suck in those days. But pray that your flight is not in the winter, nor on the Sabbaton. Sabbaton, that would include the sabbatical year or a high holy day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as has not been since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And unless those days should be shortened, no flesh would be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Leviticus 26:14. So these are the curses. There are 5 curses found up in here. You can read it yourself, starting in Leviticus 26:14. I hardly ever read the blessings in Leviticus 26:1 to 13 because nobody does them. But when you read these curses, you see them on the nightly news every night. So the first curse is right here, terror. We have the USS Cole being destroyed in the year 2000. We have the U.S. Embassy in Tanzania and Kenya being blown up in 1998. And there was this other thing that happened in 2001, 9/11, I think it was. Yeah, just a small thing. And that was terror. That's the first curse. I will send terror on you. During this time, so there we go. I just listed all that stuff. And there was another attack on another embassy in a country in 1998 that got stopped, or there would have been a third embassy blown up. Leviticus 26:18, and if you will not listen to me for all this, then I will punish you 7 times more for your sins, and I will break the pride of your power, and I will make your heaven like iron and your earth like bronze. That's drought. No rain. This is the second curse. The hottest temperatures on record happened during this time. But since then, and we're in 2022 right now, and 2021 is the 7th hottest year on record. 2019, I think, is the hottest year on record. Since these hot years during the second sabbatical cycle, we've had other years that have broken those records. It's not climate change, ladies and gentlemen. It's not HARP. It's not chemtrails. It's not your mother's silk stockings. It's Jehovah sending these curses on you for not obeying him. So the more people say that it's this, that, and the other thing, the more they deny that this is coming from Jehovah. It's Jehovah. He's sending these curses on us because we are being idiots. And we need to repent and get back to keeping Torah. Third curse. We just talked about this. There's the hottest years on record, 2016, not 2019. My apologies. 2016 was the hottest year. What do we have here? Hottest year on record occurred in 2000, so still getting hotter. There's 2020. I think I got 2021 here somewhere. Yeah, there it is, 2021, right there. It's not global warming. It's not climate change. It's Jehovah. Jehovah is sending this. Jehovah is causing it not to rain. It's not seeding chemtrail clouds. It's not that. It's Jehovah. He's the one doing this because we are not obeying him. It's Jehovah. I think I've said it, but in case you missed, it's Jehovah that's sending this on you. Leviticus 26:21. And if you walk contrary to me and will not listen to me, I will bring 7 times. 7 times. That's a sabbatical cycle. 7 times. These are compounded. They're added to. They're not one, then the next, then something. They're all, the first one, then the first one, then the second, then the first, second, and third, then the first, second, third, and fourth all together. And then it's like a snowball. It's getting bigger each time. I will bring 7 times more plagues than you according to your sins. I will send wild beasts among you who shall bereave you. And I will destroy your cattle and make you few, and your highways shall be deserted. And I had a hard time with this. I thought this was talking about lions and bears and tigers and dogs, sharks, attacks. But a virus is an animal too. This is the third sabbatical cycle. I got it marked in green here. Swine flu, bird flu, SARS, MERS, H1N1, H1N2. I forget all the numbers. There's so many of them, but they started happening here. And if I go out throughout history, what I show you, if you go and look at my charts, you can get these charts at siteofmoon.com. If you go back every Jubilee cycle for the last 6 Jubilee cycles, starting in the third sabbatical cycle and the fourth and partway into the 5th, has been non-stop plague every single time. Not just once in a while, every single time. The bubonic plagues happened during this time. The first influenza pandemic of the 21st century occurred in 2009, 2010. It was called H1N1. Okay? This is not Bill Gates. This is not George Soros. This is Jehovah. He is the one sending it. This is not some men in the dark room of those, them, they, those. It's not. It's Jehovah. Jehovah is sending the terror. Jehovah is sending the drought and the hot weather. Jehovah is sending these plagues. Swine flu in 2009. Let's see. Yeah, you can read the rest of that. 6.8 billion people died of that. Swine flu. Leviticus 26:23. And if you will not be reformed by me, because you're still a stubborn, stupid person, but will still walk contrary to me because you're a stupid, stubborn person, then I will walk contrary to you and punish you 7 times more for your sins. And I will bring a sword against you, on you, that shall execute the vengeance of the covenant. And when you are gathered inside your cities, I will send the plague up among you, and you shall be delivered into the hands of your enemy. And I've been screaming, the sword is coming in 2020. There's 3 curses that come in 2020, and I've been focused on the sword. I admit that I was partially wrong in that. And when you have broken the staff of your bread, 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven, and they shall deliver your bread again by weight. This is talking about famine. What is on the news now because of the Ukraine war? Famine. How many millions of people just got moved into the famine category because of the Ukraine war? There's already like 225, 215 million before the war. Now there's even more. So this 4th plague is sword, plague, and famine. We've already got the plague part in 2020. We've had it before that, but it got big so you could see it in 2020. And all the conspiracists came out there and tried to deny that it's from Jehovah. It's from Jehovah. And now we got famine. I don't know who, maybe George Soros is going to get blamed for the famine. It's not. It's Jehovah sending the famine on you because you're an idiot. Obey the commandments. It's really not that hard to do. Just obey the commandments. So here we are in the 4th sabbatical cycle. And I've had 2020 marked in there. If you look in these charts, they were made in 2009. And they haven't changed. Starting in 2020, COVID shut down the world. Over 6 million died. Over 509 million were infected. War broke out in Ukraine. World food chain supplies have been disrupted by COVID, and 30% of the world wheat taken off the market by the war in Ukraine. Starting in 2022, the cost of living and food and interest rates is shooting higher. And you shall eat and not be satisfied. In 2020, all churches, synagogues, mosques, and places of worship closed down. What does that mean? What does that represent? Daniel 12:11. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away and the desolating abomination set up, 1,290 days shall occur. Okay. The churches were locked down from Passover, my Passover, in March 11, 2020. 1,290 days later, including the Adar Bet, which we just had at the end of 2021. 1,290 days from March 11, 2020 brings you to between the Day of Atonement and the Feast of Sukkot. Not sure which day because of the sighting of the moon, which can vary by 1 or 2 days. And if we don't have it for 2 months, that could push it off by 2 or 3 days. So there's the simple math so that you can all double check me. March 11 to March 11, 365. And we do that for 3 years. And then from March 11th, 2023 to the end of the month is 20 more days. Then you got 30 days for April, 31 for May, 31 for July, 31 for August, and then 22 for September, which will bring you to the 1290 day. I am speculating here. I do not know for sure. I am not forecasting that the abomination will be set up on that day. but I'm watching and I'm looking and I'm thinking, I'm pondering Torah. When I go to Torah calendar and I pull up their calendar, and I don't know if you can see it, but the Torah calendar month 2023, September 22nd, is a 6-day Friday, and there's a solar eclipse on October 15th down here at the bottom, which is the 29th day of the month. So the 7th month, the 6th day is Friday. So that's right up here. So it's the day before the Sabbath, 3 days before the Day of Atonement. Is this when the abomination is going to be set up? So that is my question. That is what I'm watching and looking at. And so when you see the abomination, this is our warning. When you see it, you got to be ready to flee. And I think I'm almost done. I think. Pray that your flight is not in the winter, which is the 7th month. It's the beginning of winter, nor on the Sabbath day, which is any holy day, or the Shabbat. Could this be 2023? It's a Shemitah year, a Sabbaton. As it was in the days of Noah. So, okay, so why am I sort of focused on 2023 and our countdown? As it was in the days of Noah, when the days of Noah, when you compare Noah's flood to our time, was 1656 BC. No, 1656 after the creation of Adam, which matches our year 2034. And then the other part of that verse in Lot or Luke is as it was in the days of Lot. And that matches 2047 from the creation of Adam. And that matches our year 2033. And I'm just starting to count backwards from 2033 and thinking, is this what's going on? Even the 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine of Joeseph, the 7 years of famine ended in 2243 after the creation of Adam, which matched our year 2033. And the reason that's significant, that's when, Babylon is finished. So if I count back 2033, I counted 2045 as the 8th day feast. That makes 2038 the first day of the Feast of Sukkot. 2033 would be the Day of Atonement, and 2024 as the first day of the Feast of Trumpets. 2030 would be what we call Shabbat Shuvah, which is the Shabbat during the 10 days of Awe. And that's how I figured that out, but I didn't know if it meant anything until I started looking at the as it was in the days of Noah and as it was in the days of Lot, and then compared that to the days of Joseph. So I just count back 3.5 years to 2030. So from the Day of Atonement, when Satan blocked away, to 2030 is Passover. 3.5 years, that would be the tribulation period. The two witnesses work for 3.5 years. That brings you back to the Day of Atonement or trumpets in 2026. And the 10 days of awe or the 10 days of repentance start in 2024. Again, I'm watching. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm watching for. But if you won't listen to Jehovah, then there's a 5th curse, and that's to go into captivity. So I think I'm done. You can read these verses on your own. I highly suggest you do, and I suggest you take them into consideration. Let's see what else I got here. So that
someone noted here. Someone said mute Junior Takua. They noted on here.
What to note? I don't know what he's saying. So there's a bunch of different things there.
Well, he's saying that this Junior Takua, he's commenting like 50 times, and they're saying you should mute him.
Oh, okay. We can do that. Boom. we have the captivity cycle starting in the 5th sabbatical cycle. This captivity cycle here, we have Russia and Ukraine war, and Russia, the Belarusian guy just said a couple days ago that the rest of Europe needs to be careful. They're not done yet. That sounds like a prophecy in Revelation where it says tidings out of the east and north, and the beast power went off to make war with them. So all these end time prophecies need to take place in this last few days here, these last few years. Even if you disagree with what I'm saying, then you have to fit all those prophecies between 2044 and now. So, if I'm wrong and it's not 2033 and it's 2044, it really doesn't make that much difference, because 2045 is the 7th millennium. It cannot be changed. The Messiah, King David, must be ruling at that time.
And Joe, if your calculations are correct, then really things should be wound up by 2038, because that begins the another Shabbat. This is the 7th cycle. So you would think it should be everything finished by 2037 if all the calculations are correct.
If Satan's locked away in 2033, then it's finished then. I believe that the changing of in the twinkling of an eye and the dead being raised up will take place in 2033 at Shavuot. And then we have this time to get ready. I'm not sure how the wedding feast takes place in there, because the wedding does not take place until the end of the 7th millennium. So I'm not sure how that's going to fit in at this time. Again, I only just realized what 2024 was 1 year ago. It didn't make sense to me. That's the year the Messiah comes. How can that happen? It's the 10 days of awe. It's the 10 days of repentance leading up to the time when Satan's locked away just before the 7th millennium. So, again, that's what we are looking at here. And that's it. That's our last slide. So, how long did I take to do that? That was fast. Man, that was fast. Record time. Half hour?
You said 45 minutes and you did it.
Yeah, but we had about a 10-minute intro there. So anyway, I did not see any of the comments here on the side. The fella who was muted or removed, I don't know what he said. I took your word. He's gone. So he can always leave comments later. Some people like to come in here and try and take over the show. They think the show, we're putting this on for them. We're putting this on to teach you. We're not putting this on for you to, if you want to teach, get your own show. Just open up your own YouTube. You don't have to steal somebody else's. So Anyway, because of what I'm teaching here, and I believe Mark has read the Process of Abraham. He's been excited about that since he saw it. Cyrus has been reading my stuff for years. He knows the dates that we're talking about, sort of, kind of. He knows the battle cycles. But then you've seen my dates. You see how I got to them. But then Mark wants to go and tell us a little story about 3 weeks.
Well, as I said, you both had asked to see if I saw something in 2023 and 2024. I didn't see anything. So, just 3 weeks ago, I just was prompted in my spirit to go get on the STAR program, and I went on, and I see this little flash go by my screen as I was moving through the dates in 2023, and it was a very faint comet. So I'm zooming in on that, and I find out what it is. I watch the path, and so when I watched the path of it, the story that it told, I'm like, that's pretty interesting. Then I saw the other comet, saw the path that it went through in 2024. That's very interesting. Both of them, half of their path tell the same story. So I thought, well, I'm going to get a hold of Joe and Cyrus and see if this is something they're interested in. And as you said, whenever we talked, you both said, yes, we need to get this out there. So this is what we're doing today. All right. Yeah. So am I up next?
You have the floor, sir.
All right,
And I want to also thank you both, gentlemen, because I know you want to get in sometimes, say stuff. I appreciate you giving me the floor and just let me go. And thank you.
Yeah. All right. I'm glad Deborah Fay is watching. She's from our Cajal here in Arizona. All right, let's see. Window. All right, can you see that?
There we go. You're on there now.
Okay. All right, so we're going to start here. In this first comment is called ZTF, and the actual name of it is, one second, it is ZTF C/2022 E3. Okay, so we're starting here in January 5th of 2023, and it starts off in the constellation called Corona. In biblical astronomy, let me say this. What I'm going to share with you is what the heavens share, or what the heavens are showing, what's going on up at the heavens, which Psalm 19 says the heavens declare the glory of God. There is nowhere that their voice is not heard. And I'm using stuff from E.W. Bullinger's book, The Witness of the Stars, to share what the constellations are sharing and showing as these comets move through the constellation. There's a story. And I want to reiterate that E.W. Bullinger points out that each constellation has stars in it, and they've retained their ancient meaning. Even though the names of the stars have changed based on the languages, the meanings in all 5 languages of the ancient languages have not changed. So the meanings have stayed the same. And so E.W. Bullinger was able to come up with meanings of each constellation based on, when you look at the overall picture of the meaning of the names, they're awesome. So wanted to make sure everyone understood that. So we're going to start off in Corona. I also wanted to make mention 25 days later than this January 5th of 2023, Maholtz does its movement through the constellation of Capricorn, the slain goat for the redeemed, and kind of lights up Aquarius. That was shown in a different show, so you'd have to go back and look at that. But that's happening in January as well, in connection with this comet here. All right, so you can see the comet here in Corona. I'm gonna mention a few of the names in Corona that is interesting. One of the
Can you just circle the comet, because there's a lot of stuff here. Okay, thank you.
So you can see the blue tail coming off of it. So that's the comet ZTF. And so one of the stars is called Royal Crown. Another one is called an ornament or jewel. Another one is called the Shining. So these are some of the stars named in Corona where this begins. All right. And then on the 23rd of January, it moves into the dragon, which is biblical astronomy is called the old serpent, or the devil cast down from heaven. One of the stars is called the subtle. Another one is called the head of the subtle serpent. Another star is called who is to be destroyed. Another star is called the long serpent or dragon. Another one is the punished enemy, the reptile, the fraudful, and the bowed down. So these are all pictures of this comet coming here in Draco the Dragon. ZTF down here on the bottom, coming into the bottom body of Draco. All right. So that's where we're at on January 23rd next year. When it moves out of Draco, it comes into Ursa Minor, the lesser sheepfold, on January 26th. And you can see it here. I'll give you a little picture of it here so you can see. Here are the comets coming into Ursa Minor. And this is where the pole star is. The pole star is the North Star is here in the tail of Ursa Minor. Okay. So let's look at a few of the names of the stars. One of the stars is called a herd of animals. One of them is called the cattle. The other one is called wealth. The other one is called rest or security. And some of these are in Arabic, and Brother Cyrus, I know, can read some of these, and maybe he can check and see if this is exactly what it means. But this is what E.W. Bullinger, his research, found out that these mean. Another one over here is called high and rising, or in heavenly position. Another one's called waiting him who cometh. Another star means the calves or the young. Another one means the redeemed assembly. Another one is the kid. Another one is the assembled. Another one means a traveling company. Another one is the stronghold of the saved. So I believe, and I think E.W. Bullinger is pointing out, that this is representing a group of people that the shepherd is assembling and gathering. I've likened it into the southern kingdom of Judah and Benjamin. But I could be wrong. I know Joe has a different take on that, but that's what I have.
Can I offer my take?
Yes.
And you're talking about the big bear, right?
This is the small bear.
This is the small bear. Okay.
Yeah.
So my view is that the small bear are the saints who were raised up at when Yeshua came out of the grave in 31 AD, and the big bear or the Big Dipper will be all those saints from when he came out of the grave until now, who have died and or are alive at his coming, which I believe to be Shavuot in 2033. So that's what the Big Dipper represents.
Okay.
Brother Mark?
Yes.
There's a request in the comments to make it full screen so they can read it and get some of the names.
Let's see.
Can you make it bigger?
Is that big enough?
That's looking better, yes.
Okay, can I make that? I've got that on full screen right now. How can I make that bigger?
Okay.
Let me see if this will work. How about if I go like this and just kind of move through the text a little bit so they can see it?
If they look and there's a little square in the bottom corner of their thing, if they hit on it, that'll make it full screen on their computer. Okay, you can carry on there, Mark.
Yeah. Hopefully they can see all that. I'm moving through on the screen here so it comes up bigger. All right. Okay. So then we're going to come to, on February 4th, it moves into the constellation called Auriga, which is the shepherd. And it, in biblical astronomy, means the safety for the redeemed of the day of wrath. So I'm going to move over here to Auriga, and you can see he is a shepherd holding the little kids, the little goats, the sheepfold that are in that he says I must bring other sheep into this fold. He's holding the sheep or the goats, right? And so the comet is up here entering into the shepherd. So that's what that means. And then I'm going to move over here so you guys can see this kind of bigger screen. The brightest star is called a she-goat. Another one means the bond or chain of the goats. There's another star, Ma'az, which means the flock of goats. Now, here's what's interesting. The comet goes right through this star called Ma'az. So it's going to go right through the flock of the goats. This comet ZFT moves right through it, or ZTF. So it moves right through this flock of the goats, the star called flock of the goats. Then it moves into, there's another star here in this constellation called the wounded or slain. And then another one called wounded in the foot. So there's another star called the kids. And I couldn't find the meaning of this other star. The comet goes through a second star in this constellation called Al-Kab. I did find out that it means ankle or the rein holder or the charioteer. So it's right through the ankle of the rain holder or charioteer the comet goes through. So it goes through two stars, the flock of goats and the ankle of the rain holder or charioteer. Very interesting. Okay. So that's where we're at on February 4th of 2023. So then it comes into Taurus the bull on February 11th, 2023. And I'm going to bring up the bull here so you can see it full screen. And it's here, it's going to cross this green line is the ecliptic, where all the planets move along that line. And it moves real close to Mars here on this date and crosses the ecliptic of the bull. All right.
What's that date again?
This date is February the 11th, 2023. All right. I'm going to move this down a little bit so you can see all of this, hopefully. Okay. So the brightest star in the bull's eye is Aldebaran, means the leader or governor. Now, this comet moves right through this star, the leader or governor. So it goes right through this star. Another star is wounded or slain. Another star in this constellation is the congregation of the judge or ruler. Another one is the heap or the accumulation. Another one is the center. The old Syriac name for Pleiades is Sukkot, which means booths. Very interesting. Again, this is happening on February 11th, 2023. Another group of stars is the congregated. And other stars not identified are belonging to the judge, center or foundation, the abundance, and the turned on or rolled around. Okay. So these are the stars that are named in this Taurus the bull. And this is all happening on February 11th, 2023. Okay. I found interesting, I don't know if you can see my notes down here on the bottom. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. No, I can't. So the name of the sign in Chaldee is Tor. And, Tor is this braided circuit in Hebrew. So you really ought to check that out. It's this braided circuit or circle. So it's very interesting how that comes about. And then there's also another Hebrew name for this constellation of Taurus, which was called Shur or Shor. And this is in one of the, where it talked about Ephraim, that he was a bull. The word I believe is Shor. And it wasn't just any bull. This was this magnificent bull of ancient times that was like huge. It was way bigger than the bulls we have today. It was a really big bull with really big horns. So that's what this old name for this constellation is of Taurus the bull. Okay. March the 17th, this comet moves into Eridanus, and it means in ancient or in biblical astronomy, the river or wrath breaking forth for his enemies. And I'll move in here so you can see this a little bit bigger. So the comet comes in here to this Eridanus, and you can see here the foot of Orion, and the river is literally coming out of the foot of Orion, which is another picture of the heavens of a redeemer. Orion, the first two letters, or light, of this redeemer of light. So this river is coming out of Orion. Comet is moving into the river, and you can see in the picture of people along the river, which is, I'm guessing, like the river of life coming out, which the scripture talks about the river coming out of the throne. Very, very interesting thing, and that's happening on March the 17th. So the brightest star is called the after part of the river. Another one is called bent down. Another one is flowing. Another star is called the going forth. His throne was, I'm going to read this part. Is it not this testimony afterwards written in the book? Daniel sees this fiery river in his vision of that coming day when the true Orion shall come forth of his glory. And he says, I beheld till the thrones were placed, and the one that was ancient of days did sit. His throne was fiery flames, and the wheels thereof burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. This is the river of judge. For he goes on to say the judgment was set and the books were opened. So there's another interesting interpretation of this river, that it wasn't river of water, but it was a river of fire going forth from his.
That's the one I was thinking of, and I'd never heard the river of life. I heard the river of fire though before.
Yeah. So this other idea or concept is the river of fire, and it says here, then we have a river flowing forth from before the glorious Orion. It runs in a serpentine course towards the lower regions, out of sight. In vain the sea monster Cetus strives to stop its flow. It is the river of the judge, and speaks of that final judgment in which the wicked will be cast in the lake of fire. It was evidently originally associated with fire. So I'm going to read to you, E.W. Bullinger puts this Psalm, he's got the Roman numeral, and I can't really tell which Roman numeral that is, describes the scene in which the Lord shall reign. It says, a fire goes before him, burneth up his adversaries round about. His lightnings lighted the world. The earth saw and trembled. The hills melted like wax at the presence of the Lord, at the presence of Yahweh on the whole earth. So this is all happening on March the 17th as this comet goes into this river of wrath, the river of fire, breaking forth for his enemies. Okay. Then on May 1st, the comet moves into Lepus, which is called in biblical astronomy the enemy trodden underfoot. I'll get this kind of big for you so you can see. Here's the comet here moving up into the top of Lepus. And so I'm going to move over here and let you see what this is saying. To learn the real meaning, therefore, we must have recourse to the ancient zodiacs. In the Persian planisphere, the first constellation was pictured by a serpent. So in one of the oldest zodiacs in the Persian planisphere, this was pictured as a serpent. In the Dendera, the Egyptian zodiac, it is an unclean bird standing on the serpent, which is under the feet of Orion. The brightest star has a Hebrew name, Arnebo, which means the enemy of him that cometh. Now, as you notice here, the comet passes right through this star, Arnebo, which is the enemy of him that cometh. Very interesting. Then another star in this constellation is the Mad, the Bound, in Arabic with chain, and also the Deceiver. So you can see that this constellation has a very connection to the enemy, which is the one trodden underfoot. The reason it's trodden underfoot is you can see up here at the top, this is the foot of Orion, and there's another foot of Orion here above the comet that's stepping on the head of this enemy, which I think I show a better picture of that in the next comet as it's going through this same spot. All right. So it says there can be no mistaking the voice of this united testimony, for this enemy is under the foot of the coming foot of Orion. And it tells of the blessed fact that when the true Orion, the son of righteousness, shall rise, and the true light shall shine over all the earth, he shall tread down the wicked, and every enemy will be subdued under his feet. It is he that shall tread down the enemies. So this is the picture that we see of what's happening in this constellation as this comet goes through it on May 1st. Then the comet goes into Canis Major on August the 2nd. The biblical astronomy from the Witness of the Stars says this is the coming glorious prince of princes, where this star Sirius is found. And I know there's a whole nother application to this dog star and this dog constellation, but I'm just sharing you what E.W. Bullinger has come up with. And so I'm going to zoom in here on this. This right here is the comet Sirius, or the star Sirius in the nose. This is the brightest star in the heavens. So Sirius, a lot of connection through the ancient what am I trying to say? The languages and the peoples. In the Dendera zodiac, he is called Apis, which means the head, and is pictured as a hawk, caused to come forth or coming swiftly down. Another star in this constellation is in all languages. That's what's interesting is, so as E.W. Bullinger looked at the stars in this constellation, even though the 5 ancient languages had different names, they all had the same meaning. And these are the meanings of the stars in the constellation. So it's the leader, coming quickly, the bright, the shining, the prince or ruler, the glorious, and the comet passes through this star called the glorious. Other names are who shall come, the prince or chief of the right hand, the mighty, and the leader or the chief. And so I'm going to
got a question for you there, Mark. Just the one. How do you know where this comet's going to be? So just explain that briefly. That you're using the.
So I use a star program called Starry Night, and as the comet passed through this constellation, I'm looking at and I got this idea from Deborah, who's watching. She gave me the idea to look at the stars that the comet passes through. So as I did, I'm noting here these stars. So it's kind of interesting as this comet passes through this one called the Glorious and the other ones that I've mentioned previously. Maybe we should be taking note of, it's coming through this particular star. But yeah, I can see where the comet is. It's crossing right over the star in this constellation, and I'm looking at the name of it, and I can see, the program shows what the name of it is, and I'm looking here. E.W. Bullinger has the same name, Adhara, and it's called the Glorious. So in the app that I'm using, it's called Adhara is in the app as well. All right, does that answer that question?
Yep.
Okay, so then the next place it goes to is September 15th. It goes into Argo. The pilgrims safe at home is what this means in biblical astronomy. And so the comet passes through a star called Canopus. And this star in Argo, the ship, means the possession of him who cometh. So the star goes right through it on October the 11th. So obviously this comet is in this constellation from September 15th all the way through October the 11th. And some of the other star names is called, I'll get this a little bigger so people can see what it's saying. The multitude or abundance, the possession, the released who travel, the desired, and the branch. These are some of the stars in this constellation based on the meaning of them in all 5 ancient languages. Okay? So that's where we're at on September 15th. And then I did something kind of interesting I want to show you guys. So as you noticed right here, the biblical name of this constellation is the Pilgrim Safe at Home. And I've kind of given you that name or, biblical definition of the constellation. So I put it up here to show you all of the places that it goes into. So it goes into the crown bestowed, then the old serpent, devil cast from heaven, the lesser sheepfold. Then it goes into safety of the redeemed on the day of wrath, the coming judge of all the earth, the river of the wrath breaking forth for his enemies, the enemy trodden under the foot, the coming glorious prince of princes, and then the pilgrim safe at home. The reason that these last 2, 4, 6 are in bluish is because these are the same path the next comet goes through. The top 3 are unique to this comet, where the other one, the next one we're going to look at, doesn't go through these top 3, but the next one we look at goes through these next 6. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
So ladies and gentlemen, we just followed this ZTF comet, and it's showing you where it went. And so right now we're up to October, from September 15th to October 11th. And the date that I was questioning is September 22nd. And so this comet's here. Now, Mark is going to present you a second comet doing a different flyby. That I think this is the one that we got
Yeah.
Wow.
And this comet is called Pons Brooks. And the technical name for it, because you won't find it, but you'll have to type in Pons Brooks 12P. And on August 17th, 2023, this comet is in the mouth of the dragon. So on August 17, 2023, comet Pons Brooks, which obviously Pons Brooks and ZTF are going to be in the sky during the fall of 2023 together. Okay, obviously, because we just looked at ZTF all the way to October 11th. So we're starting with Pons Brooks in August 17th of 2023 in the mouth of the dragon. And then you can see that on November 7th, 2023, Pons Brooks goes into Hercules, which in biblical astronomy, he's called the mighty vanquisher. I know this is kind of small, so I've got to kind of zoom in on it. So I'm going to move in on some of the names of the stars in this constellation. If I can get this in here. All right. His name is...
Hang on, just for clarification here now. This Pons Brook 12P comes into view at the beginning for the first time in the mouth of the dragon.
Yeah.
So this just pops into the mouth of the dragon in August 17th, 2023.
Yes. And
Okay.
so it's in this constellation. His name is, one of the stars is Bo, which means who cometh. And so I'm going to mention a few of these stars in here. Let's see here if I have them in here. Well, I didn't have, sorry if I didn't put some of the names of the stars here. I must have missed it. Anyway, I've got this up here kind of large so you can read what this constellation is really about. He's engaged in destroying some malignant foe, and he's slaying the boar, and he's in the conquest of the bull of Crete, then the killing of the three-headed hydra by whose venom Hercules afterwards died. So there's a lot of war going on here in Hercules. And so this Pons Brook goes into the feet here. And so I'm going to share with you this next place that it goes after it leaves Hercules. It goes into December the 4th in Lyra, the harp. And it's called in biblical astronomy, Praise Prepared for the Conqueror. I'm going to zoom in on the harp here. So you can see it here coming into the harp. Pons Brooks 12P comes right into the harp. And so hopefully I can get some of these stars here that it goes into during this time. All right. So it goes into a star called He Shall Be Exalted. Then it goes into a star called an eagle. And then another star called Springing Up or Ascending as Praise. So it's like this whole constellation is all about praise and exalting. Then it goes into a star called the Serpent Ruled. So praising that the serpent has been ruled and conquered. And you can read about the rest of that E.W. Bullinger says about this constellation here. All right. I'm only going to focus in on the stars' names. Okay. All right. After it leaves the harp, it goes into the swan. And it means in biblical astronomy, the blessed or the blesser surely returning. This also ties in with Macholtz, okay? So I'm sorry, let me remove that. It doesn't tie in with Macholtz. This is 2024, January 9th of 2024. So the blesser surely returning, and you can see Pons Brooks moving into the swan on this date. And here's what the swan stars mean, all right? So one of them is called a bird peculiarly belonging to both the earth and the waters. One of the stars is called the judge. Another one is called flying swiftly. And thus at once it is connected with him who cometh to judge the earth in righteousness. Another star is called Flying Quickly, or another one is called Who Returns as in a Circle. Another star in the tail is called Who Goes and Returns Quickly, meaning he's gone away and he comes back. Now, we talked about this, me and Joe and Cyrus, when we talked. This star is called Azel. I've highlighted it right here in blue. And I don't know if Joe, one of you asked about, you mentioned something about Azel. And so this is Azel. One of the stars is called Azel, as in Azazel, who goes and returns quickly, glorious, shining forth.
So we were discussing whether it was the Azazel or Azel, if it's the same word. Azazel is the one that you put out, the goat that not escapes but is put out of the camp during the Day of Atonement. And I don't know that we concluded, and I don't think that we can conclude that Azel and Azazel are the same or have the same meaning.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you can read some of the other things that E.W. Bullinger says about this constellation here. The teaching then of this whole sign of Aquarius is clear and complete, because this is a connecting constellation with Aquarius. The names explain the constellation, the names of the constellation explain the sign, so we're left with no doubt. So he has purchased and procured unspeakable blessings for his redeemed. It tells of those blessings being poured forth and of the speedy return of him who is bringing the rivers of blessing and to fill this earth with blessing and glory as the waters cover the sea. So that's where we're at on this swan, a blesser surely returning. Then on February 10th of 2024, it reaches Pegasus, and it's in biblical astronomy, it's the blessings quickly coming. So as we saw in the previous one of the swan, the blesser surely returning, now it's the blessings quickly coming. And I'll zoom in on this. The reason I found this interesting is because you can see here, these are clouds that this horse with wings is riding. And it's very interesting that this comet enters the clouds and it stays in this cloud. And this is kind of called the Cloud Rider, this constellation here. So it stays in the clouds for some time and then exits, but it's very interesting. And here's some of the stuff that it says about this constellation. So one of the stars is Pega, which is the chief, and Sus, which is the horse, where you get this Pegasus, the chief horse. Another star is called the Returning from Afar. Another one is called He Goeth and Returneth. Another one is called Al Ghanib, which means who carries. Another one, Anif, Arabic, the water. And then another one, who causes to overflow. And then you can read the other part about this that E.W. Bullinger talks about this constellation. He who procured these blessings for the redeemed by his atonement is quickly coming to bring them and is soon returning to pour them forth upon a groaning creation. This is the lesson of Pegasus. Okay. So this is all happening on February 10th through March 2nd. Okay. So it rides the cloud to March the 2nd of 2024. Then this Pons Brooks goes on March 6th into Andromeda, which in biblical astronomy is the redeemed in their bondage and affliction, which you can see here. Andromeda is a woman in chains. She's bound. But the whole idea about this constellation is she's going to be set free. Even though she's in chains, there's a queen next to her. She gets transformed from bondage and a woman in bondage and chains to the woman that's sitting on a seat of being exalted as a queen, obviously being done by the king who comes for the woman in chains.
And if I can just throw in here while you're saying this, you're talking about March 2024, and that would be the start of the fifth curse, which I've just shown you was the time of captivity for Israel. And this Andromeda is a picture of Israel being in captivity.
Yep. All right. And so this star,
Andromeda, sorry, Mark, my bad. Andromeda is about to be, the other constellation of Andromeda is about to be destroyed by the beast power. Again, this is representing Israel about to be destroyed.
So you have one
all that in. Your timing is impeccable.
Okay. I'm just presenting what the stars are doing, and then, as you guys asked for that, so I want to share with you. So this first star in the head is called Al-Faratz. The comet passes right through this star, which is the broken down. So this comet goes right through the star called the broken down. Then another star is called the weak. Another star is called struck down. Another star here is called the afflicted or the weak. Another one is called Al-Marah, which is the afflicted. And then another one speaks of the bound. Her feet point to her bridegroom, Perseus, who on whose shoulder they rest. Thus, with one voice, the stars of Andromeda speak to us of the captive daughter of Zion, and her coming deliverer thus addresses her. All right. So that's what's happening here on March the 6th as it goes into the captive woman. All right. Then on March 18th, it moves into Pisces, which I call Judah, and I know Joe has a different interpretation of it. But it's in biblical astronomy, it's called the blessings of the redeemed in abeyance. I'm going to move here into a zoom position of Comet Pons Brooks in the fish. It's just left Andromeda, the chained woman, and goes into this fish. And the ancient Egyptian name is shown in the Dendera zodiac. It means the fish of him that cometh. And so he's been searching for his fish. All right. The Hebrew name is Dagim, the fishes, also connected with the multitudes. All right. May they grow into a multitude on the earth. Then also let them grow as fishes and increase. It refers to the fulfillment of Genesis, I guess this is 128, be fruitful and multiply. The multitude of Abraham's seed is prominent on the pronouncement of the blessings, where God compared his future posterity to the stars of the sky and the sand of the seashore, a very great multitude of fish, as in Ezekiel. The Syriac name is Nuno, which is the fish, or the lengthened out, as in posterity. I have another name called the United or the Upheld. Okay. So these again speak of the redeemed seed of whom and to whom Yahweh speaks in that coming day of glory, as in Isaiah, not sure what chapter that is, verses 8 through 10. All right. So this is March 18th. This, interestingly, this is the depending on where you're at. So this would be right at the day of the equinox is when this takes place, which is a very interesting time because the equinox is a very special marked out day of the year. Okay. So this is March 18th. Then on March 30th, the comet, as you can see here, goes into Aries the Ram. You can see Jupiter here below Aries the Ram, the king planet, and it's approaching the ecliptic here where Jupiter's on the ecliptic. And so it's in Aries the Ram. And Aries the Ram is, in a biblical astronomy, means the blessings of the redeemed, consummated and enjoyed. All right. So you have in the Dendera zodiac, it has this name, Aman, which means the reign or dominion or government of the Almighty. The lamb's head is without horns and is crowned with a circle. All right. So the Hebrew name is Teleh, the lamb. The Arabic name is this one, which means the sheep, the gentle or merciful. Has another name bar means altar or sacrifice, and zagar meaning right making, the sacrifice of righteousness. So this is where this comet goes into on March the 30th. All right. Then on April, I have this in blue because this is the same positions that the other one. So I really don't have to go into a lot because we've already talked about these constellations on the other comet. So this comet goes into on April the 19th of 2024, the Bull, which we've already talked about. Then it goes into Eridanus, the River of Wrath, which we've already talked about, so I don't have to go into detail on that. So it goes in the same spot as ZTF went into. Then it goes into May 22nd, Lepus, which we already went to, the enemy trodden underfoot. And I do have here in this picture, which I didn't have in the other one, you can see the foot of Orion getting ready to step on the enemy here, stepping on the head of the enemy. All right. Let's see here. I had a different. So it goes in Lepus, then it goes into Canis Major, and you can see here I put a arrow here pointing to the Sirius, the star that's in the, they call it the dog star. So again, different year, but it goes in the same place that ZTF went into, and this happens on June 13th, 2024. And then on June 25th, 2024, it goes into Argo, the Pilgrim Safe and Home. Same place that ZTF went into, same constellation. And so then again, I put, as I did before, the 3 that are unique to pawn stars, and then the 6 that are common with ZTF that they go into. Kind of zoom in on that if you need to see it bigger. All right. Did you, either one of you, want to comment on these 2 stars before I move into something else that I want to talk about?
Are you going to get to Maholtz?
Yeah, I can get into Maholtz. Let me, do you want to do that now?
I don't know. I don't know.
All right, let me show everybody Maholtz, but I've got to change.
Okay, so did you want to show Maholtz now, or did you want to show him later? I'm just asking because.
Well, if I show it now, I've got to change share screen and then come back to this. So maybe it'd be easier to do it after.
Okay.
I have a question, Brother Mark.
Yeah.
What are the magnitudes of these 2 comets? Are they going to be visible to the naked eye, or?
They're going to be, they're projecting them to be not be visible with the naked eye. But here's the thing that I was pondering this and thinking on this, is that, back in the day, they had to rely on what they could see with their naked eye.
Right.
But, as knowledge has increased, as the scriptures testify, we have been able to see better with aided eyesight. And so I would have to say that the Almighty knew that we were going to be able to see these things this day that couldn't be seen before. And knowing that we'd be able to see it, he marked out the path so that those that are watching would be able to see the story and the message that they are telling. Even though it can't be seen with the naked eye, we can see it through the aided eye. And I think that is pretty weighty, because obviously he knew that we'd be able to see it, even though 1,000 years ago they may not have been able to see it, but today we can. Just like it says, seal up the book until the end of days. So maybe some of the paths of these stars were sealed up. Today we can see them, and they're visible.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's just my thoughts on it. All right. So I wanted to share this. And so I talked to Joe and Cyrus about this Chicago fire in 1871 or 72, whenever it was. And this Chicago fire was, I did not know that it actually burned up 2 other cities at some distance away. All 3 fires in 3 cities started on the same day, October the 8th. And October the 8th is the day that this Draco Draconoids meteor shower takes place on October 8th each year. And you can see here that it comes right out of the head or the mouth of the dragon, Draco, and the shooting stars, break out every direction from there. Okay. So there were eyewitnesses. I read a book where one of the gentlemen who was in this whole situation wrote down eyewitness comments, and they said that they saw things falling from the sky. There was sometimes blue things bouncing on the ground. They saw a balloon spinning fast, huge giant balloon spinning fast that wasn't burning. It seemed as though the air was on fire, not just the ground. There was no wind when this all took place, but yet when it came upon the cities, it was like hurricane wind within the fire. They noted that there were, after it was all over, they saw people that were laying dead on the ground in the midst of the fire that had no signs of burn on them, but in their pockets was melted metal. So fast forward to 2017, Cyrus? The fire in LA or in California?
Yes, I believe it was.
So this fire in California happened on the exact same day, October the 8th. And if you'll go and watch the videos of it, you'll see that the rims of the cars melted and ran down the sidewalks or the driveways into the gutter. The firefighters couldn't understand what could have caused such a high intensity because the normal fires they fight don't reach the temperature hot enough to melt metal. But yet in the Chicago fire and in this fire, you have both instances of metal melting. So what's interesting is when these balls of ice come from this Draconoid meteor shower, when they do reach the Earth, they have trapped within the balls of ice is acetylene and methane gas. And of course, you know that acetylene is what they use in torches to cut through metal. And the Chicago firefighters noted that there was a blue color in the basements as well as some of the other locations. So you got this blue color, which plasma is blue in color, which also burns at a high heat and high temperature. So it's very interesting that these things took place on October the 8th, and both had these kind of melting metal situations with extreme high temperatures. And as Cyrus mentions, when the magnetosphere gets weak, some of these things come through. And how many times have we seen in Scripture that things came down from the heavens and pummeled the earth, and balls of fire, and or ice on fire, hail on fire? So it's very interesting that these things take place. I just wanted to mention that. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was in 2027, we're going to have a solar eclipse that passes over Egypt, and another one in 2034. So the one coming from the top left to the bottom right, this path here, is 2027. This one that goes from left bottom to right top is 2034. They're 7 years apart, just like the ones here in the US. What I want to focus in on here is this location here of the greater eclipse. There's a circle or a bend in the river that takes place right here. This greater eclipse is right here in Egypt, right at this location. So I want to show you that this path goes right through this bend, okay? Everybody see that?
Yep.
This is 2027. Well, I plotted the course of this path of this eclipse, and you can see it going right through here, the river of the Nile. This is the river, the Nile River. You can see in the bend of the Nile River. But notice what's in the top of this bend is called the Dendera Temple. This is the place where the most ancient zodiac we have on Earth is in this temple of the Dendera Temple. We also have here, just below the path, is the Valley of the Kings and Thebes. Also, the Temple Karnak, which they've noted has the plasma destruction on it that they can tell. You'll have to go and look at it online. They've noted that the objects at this temple had destruction on them on the east side. No other side of these monuments, but it had major burn and destruction markings on the east side that they came to the conclusion it was plasma destruction on the east side at this Karnak temple. So I find it very interesting that this comet goes through, or this solar eclipse goes through this spot, and this blue mark here that I have is off the picture, but this is about where the greatest eclipse is going to occur, just a few miles from these temples. So this whole area is going to be black, completely dark on August the 23rd, I think, of 2027. Very, very interesting. And so there's one other comment I had before actually, I've got to show you the Maholtz comment. So one other thing I want to show you is we talked in our last show about Apophis coming in 2029, actually being seen in 2026. And we showed how the Apophis was actually moved through the serpent and went through the serpent. I found out that this Apophis was also called Apep, and that it was the one that embodied chaos, and it was the opponent of light and truth and order. It was seen as a giant snake or serpent, leading to such titles as a serpent from the Nile and the evil dragon. So here is an actual picture of Apophis on one of the hieroglyphics in Egypt, and you can see that it's pictured as the serpent, the snake. And yet this rock, Apophis, goes right through the serpent, as we noted, in 2029, before it makes this extreme close flyby or striking the earth, whichever it's going to do. So I wanted to share those things, and so I'll get off of the share screen, and I'm going to.
Brother Mark, could you do one thing?
Yes.
Well, in that path that you
Yeah.
just had, the cross, where
Yes.
the cross, one goes directly over Medina, and the other one, did you notice that?
Yeah, I
The
did.
two holiest sites to Islam are directly in the path of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this 2027 and 2034 are the only two solar eclipses that Israel is going to see. And the one in 2027 happens at noontime. Remember, the scripture says the sun will go down at noon. Could it mean the sun will completely be unseen at noon? And this happens in August of 2027. Very interesting moment. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share this screen here. Brother Joe wanted me to show you.
So if I remember correctly, this is where Cyrus and I are both picking our jaws off the floor.
Okay, so we're going to move over to Maholtz. And here you can see Maholtz right here lighting up Aquarius.
Sorry, my bad. I gotta let you in. I'm sleeping here. Just been watching. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so this is Maholtz right here. You can see my comet Maholtz down here where my cursor or arrow is, and it's lighting up Aquarius, but it's moving through the slain goat for the redeemed as it moves through from. Let me just see here.
When is this?
This is January 30th of 2023. At the same time that we're seeing, hold on, that zoomed out and I didn't want it to do that.
Of 2023, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So you can see it moving here. It starts down here in Microscopum in January 19th. And then it comes to Microscopum, enters into the slain goat on the 27th, lights up Aquarius on the 30th, and then moves out of Aquarius and moves out over here in this part and kind of becomes faint. So that's the path of Maholtz, which is the Harbinger comet. And this all happens. The big event is January 30th of 2023, which everything is starting here in 2023 of the other two comets that I mentioned. And Maholtz is kind of lighting things up, beginning everything on that date. All right. I'm gonna unshare so that Brother Cyrus can take over.
Okay, so before you go, I thought Maholtz went through that dragon again.
Not Maholtz. The comet that we already looked went through the dragon.
ZTF and Pons.
Yeah, so ZTF, I think ZTF did go through. Didn't I mention that? ZTF. Yeah, ZTF goes through the tail of the dragon, or goes through part of the dragon, and so does Pons Brooks. Yeah, both of them do.
So what? Just so everyone knows why I got so excited when you showed this to us in that private session that we should have recorded. You showed both of us that these for the fall, and I'm saying the fall is August, September of 2023, when I'm expecting and looking for a some sort of abomination object being set up in Jerusalem area, that at the exact same time that I'm looking, this comet is going through the mouth or the head of the dragon at the exact same time. And then you had the other one doing the exact same thing near the same time, right?
Yep.
That's why, that's what got, wow, like what? No. And that's what got us excited because of the timing. Is this prophetic? I don't know. I can't read stars. I read a little bit, like, I can a little bit, not even as good as I read Hebrew. And I don't read Hebrew very well. So that's what got us excited. And the fact that I thought Maholtz was involved in it.
So, it's starting off. It's kicking things off. And so it's starting in January, which is, again, as I pointed out before, things significant happen within a year to year and a half after Maholtz comes into view.
Okay. I got 3 pages of notes just from you. Okay, thank you, Mark. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know what Cyrus does, Cyrus watches the apogees and perigees of the moon going around the Earth. Not going around, going around the Earth. And as it goes around the Earth, it doesn't go in a circle. It goes in like a football, an ecliptic. Is that what you call it? Ecliptic. Yes. And at certain points, that moon comes closer to the Earth, and at other times, it's far from the Earth. And that's the perigee. No, perigee is when it's closer. Sorry?
Apogee is away.
Apogee is, yes. Yeah. And during that time, people get crazy. He calls it crazy. I call it stupid. Now, I first came in contact with Cyrus in, before 2019, I think it was.
2019, I think is when it was.
Yeah, and you warned us about something coming out of China in November, and 2019, and I think the end of it was sometime in March or April.
Mm-hmm.
And you were thinking it's financial or oil, and you didn't exactly know what it was, but boom, out comes COVID. Then you said something was going to happen in some March, April, May, and peaking around May, and then going into, I think, the fall again, and there's another crazy cycle, and boom, we got the riots in the United States. Then you did it. You're consistently on the money. And the last time you were here, you warned us something about the financial stuff. And almost within a few days, the stock market started to go boom, down. So I am excited to hear what you have to say, but I'm also scared scared or terrified to let you say anything because you may not exactly know what it is, but man, you're scary accurate. So, with that introduction, Cyrus Harding, go ahead.
I thought I was just a pretty face that was, I didn't know I had to do something. Well,
Is it
let's kind of back up a little bit, and we just finished a cycle. June 29th was the end of the cycle. I gave you some percentages, and then some of them were starting to get pretty high. They were in the 50s. And then I told you add 50% to that because back in the previous cycle, the fall winter cycle of 2021, the magnetosphere of the Earth collapsed even more. Now, this is going to be a pattern that's going to continue. That was the reason I had Brother Mark look up October 2024, because October 2024 is going to be the peak collapse. It's going to get worse, and I can't. Is it going to be an algebraic collapse? Is it going to be, some other method of calculation collapse? I don't know. It's going to keep collapsing going into fall of 2024.
okay? When you're talking about a collapse, like what are you talking about? What's collapsing and what does that mean?
The magnetosphere, that shield, sometimes people refer to it as a Van Allen radiation belt. Okay, but that's just a part of the magnetosphere. There's more than just the Van Allen radiation belt. It's what keeps us from being bombarded with so much radiation we burn up. Okay, which, if you'll remember in our last meeting, they're trying to figure out what type of poisoning killed 10,000 cattle in Kansas. And it's possible that because of the collapse of the radiation belt, and this is just a theory, okay, that there are now holes in our protection. And what may have happened is the area that was directly under this hole could have gotten bombarded by an intense amount of the gamma, but also UV, ABC, or 1, 2, 3, and now X-rays are reaching the Earth's surface for the first time in history, recorded history. Okay, so our bodies are being bombarded way more than normal. So this is causing problems to intensify, and changes will be coming quicker and quicker. If it feels like time is speeding up, it's because things are happening much faster than they would in a normal cycle. A normal cycle, you expect that peak period, really 2 weeks either side of the two eclipses, lunar, solar. But that now it's changing. It's really not dropping down below 50% in intensity, just the ambient intensity, because of the reduced magnetosphere. It is allowing more craziness. That's the only way I can express it. People are being bombarded more. And I think I sent both of you an article that was published in a journal, a scientific journal, talking about even if you're underground in a cave, the cycles will affect you. So science is kind of saying the same thing that I've been saying for a number of years, but I couldn't prove it. Now science has proven it. So I think that people need to, there's just no protection against the influences of the cycle. Does it affect everybody the same way? No, it does not. It's basically, people say, well, I'm a born again believer in the Messiah. I keep Torah and I do this. Cycles don't influence me. Not that you're aware of. your spouse might be aware of it. You know, it's like, oh gosh, he's going through another phase again, you know, or something like that. So we may not be aware of cycles. I am physically. That's what started this whole thing. Uh, the cycles affect my dreams. So I wanted to find something that what affects a dream, and that's when I began studying gravity. Gravity can affect your dreams. In fact, electromagnetic energy can actually affect your faith in God. Okay, I don't know if you know that, but they have a technology where they use powerful magnets and put them over certain lobes of your brain that can make you not be depressed or actually make you forget certain parts of your life by moving it to a more primal position. Then they can erase or modify your faith in Elohim. So, you know, when a VA wants to put one of these things up against me, like, nope, forget that, you know.
So you're saying that June 29th, we ended the last cycle and now we've started into another cycle, and we started in at 50 plus another 50. We're already at 100% in this cycle, and it's going to get worse.
No, we're at an ambient 50. The cycle ended June 29th. We're at an ambient 50. And then September 26th might be an important date. I believe that what we're seeing, okay, remember back in November, December, going into January, I told you to watch Russia and Ukraine. So that was an important thing that, believe it or not, the solar eclipse was a bullseye over Moscow. So I'm thinking, okay, it's coming. Russia and Ukraine, it's going to get bad. It didn't. And I thought, why on earth did it not happen? But I did not realize Vladimir Putin had put 100,000 troops in Belarus. I knew that. But, you know, I thought, okay, they'll just drive their tanks on down to Kiev. They couldn't, because there's a gigantic swamp on the border of Belarus and Ukraine. And until that swamp freezes, it could not, their army could not cross that swamp. And they had unusually high temperatures, and they did not get the freezing temperatures they anticipated November, December, and January. It started getting a hard freeze in January, but it was until February that the ice was frozen so solidly that the tanks and trucks could drive across it. That's why he waited till February 24th to invade. Once they were sure that the ice would support their equipment, they invaded. So the invasion had already been planned in November and December, because the men had already been moved in fact, some of them were taken from the far eastern army and brought to Belarus so they could invade Kiev. But because of this swamp, they couldn't get across it until they had a solid ice floor to drive their tanks over.
So on September 26th, you are...
September 26th. This is the beginning. Go ahead, Mark.
That's that other thing I didn't remember. That's one of the other things that I talked about.
See, he was going to tell us this after we said goodbye. Oh, I remember something. There you go.
I told you that there was, you know, one of the things we talked about was this September 26th, and I had forgot about it. I just couldn't remember that was one of the things. And Brother Cyrus reminded me that I'll just quickly say it so that Cyrus can continue. And that is every 7 years we've seen something happen. So in 2001, in September, we had the 9/11 happen. Economy went in a dip. 2008 was one of the worst crashes in history, 777 points. 2015, you'll have to go and look. I checked it out on doing my research. It was another huge crash in the economy in 2015. Each of these are 7 years apart. So from 2015 in September, when it happened last, going forward, the next 7 year mark is this September. And I chose the 26th, and Brother Cyrus showed me on his calendar, he had the 26th circled. So we both came up with the same day.
That is the beginning, or potentially the beginning of the next cycle. I'm going to say it this way: between September 26th and 28th, whenever the sliver is sighted, that's when I believe the cycle actually starts, because the whole thing is based upon light from the moon, or actually bouncing off the moon and coming back to Earth. Okay, so somewhere around September 26th, we're going to enter a war cycle, just like the one we're in now, just left on June 29th. That was a financial cycle. And people say, well, nothing big financially happened. A lot happened on this cycle financially. It was hidden from everybody by using the war as a distraction. Yes, sir.
Can I just comment on that? Because I do remember you said financial cycle, and I'm thinking, well, what's happening? This war just changed everything.
Yes.
Because what's the word? Trump does something with the money against another country. What's that called?
No, not embargo.
See, got the three of us got Alzheimer's.
They put duties on things.
No, it's not duties. Anyway, they put the banks put something on their money so they can't do nothing with it.
Right.
Sanctions. There we go. Thank you.
Sanctions. There you go.
Sanctions. They sanctions.
What would we do without these guys?
It's called getting old. Sanctions. So they started sanctioning. Everybody sanctioned the Russians. Everything got sanctioned. Everything that was Russian got sanctioned. Even the oligarchs got sanctioned. Guess what happened? It's called BRICS.
Yes.
China, Russia, India, Brazil. Brazil. Why Brazil?
South
China,
Africa.
Russia, India, South Africa, and now we got Argentina and one more. I forgot who the other one is.
One more. Getting close.
Don't forget that Italy put a hold on Putin's yacht and won't let it out of the dock. So that's an economic issue for him, and it's happening to several of the Russian billionaires that have yachts in places. They're not letting them have them.
Yeah. This is bigger than just somebody's yacht. This is now because the ruble dove when the sanctions were put on. The ruble dove, and guess what Putin did? He pegged the ruble. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, to gold.
Yes.
And now the ruble has got value because it's pegged to gold. What's the American dollar pegged to? The petrodollar, which is the American dollar. The world currency dollar is pegged to air.
Yep.
It's not pegged to anything.
Full faith and confidence, which I don't have in the United States government.
When a country can take away your bank account because they disagree with your foreign policy, we've now, not we, but we, the West, the United States, and all of us nations that signed up to, we've abused that power of sanctions. We've been using it against Iran for years. Now we just did it with Russia. What Russia do? Pegged their currency to gold, got side with the China. Now they have a trading bloc, another World Bank in that currency. So everything you're saying about finances, Cyrus, is like, wow, like this stuff is getting real. If that BRICS solidifies here within the next year or so.
Okay, it's solid. It is solid. But here's the thing you missed. You mentioned Saudi Arabia has been invited. Iran has been invited. Argentina has been invited. to join BRICS.
I didn't know about Saudi Arabia. Iran was the one I forgot.
Yes, Iran has been. Now, stop and think about this. I told you the last time that we met that Putin spoke at this new Asian League that he is championing, told everybody to put away their old animosities. And the Pakistanis shoot into India when they don't have anything else to do. India hates China. They're fighting over the same piece of land there in the Himalayas. China's building 250 missile silos in that same area. And Putin's saying, no, 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 no. That's not your enemy. The enemy is the debt-based Bretton Woods system. Okay? Now, you're part right about the ruble and the gold. But what Russia and China are saying is, you want wheat, you buy it with a ruble. You want gold, you buy it with a yuan or a ruble. You want oil, you buy it with a ruble, or you can buy it with gold. We don't care. Go, send us your gold and we'll take it. These countries that we're talking about, Pakistan, India, China, Russia. China's the number one supplier of gold in the world. They mine more gold than anybody else in the world. So you've got China. You've got Russia, number two miner of gold in the world. They normally don't sell gold. Sometimes they do. They normally keep it. Okay. South Africa. Anybody remember anything about South Africa? It's a gold mining country. Okay. Do you see where all it? What is India? Probably the largest consumer of gold in the world. So you've got a mutually beneficial arrangement. I mine gold, you buy gold. So they're saying let's have a commodity-based system. We don't have to have a gold system. If you have rare earths, which China's got the largest supply of rare earths, if you have rare earths and I need rare earths and you need wheat, then I'll swap you wheat for your rare earth. So you're getting something. You're not taking paper that, I mean, you could tear up a paper towel and say, here's $100.
Yeah.
You're getting something for your money. And the common enemy that Putin has identified, and so has Xi, debt is the enemy. Now, if you look at it, you say, well, gosh, China's been milking debt now for 20 years. Yeah, they're trying to break the system. You got to look at this as if these people know what they're doing 20 to 50 years in advance. They know it. You can read all of this stuff coming out of China in late 1960s, talking about all these things that were going to take place right about where we are today. They're saying 2020 was their big date. By 2020, they would have an agreement with Russia to come together and to attack their common enemy, the United States. They were not quite prepared. They were almost prepared. Here we are in 2022, and I believe they are prepared and they are capable.
So how is this going to tie into September 26, 2022?
I believe it's going to be a financial crash right about that time. It's going to be a financial event that starts the war.
It starts which war, and who are you talking about for the war?
I'm talking about the mother of all wars. I'm talking about the potential for World War III.
Between Europe and Russia?
No, between Russia and China and the United States.
Say that again real slow. Say that again real slow, Cyrus.
Okay, I believe that it's going to be Russia and China against the United States. And I believe all the kabuki theater going on with China and Taiwan is to get our attention off of their true enemy, which is the United States. Because I believe, this is just my own personal view, I'm not a military strategist, but I could have prevented some of the stupidity I've seen here lately. But here's the thing. We protect, by mutual agreement, we did protect Saudi Arabia. They've now signed a new agreement with Russia. But we do protect Japan That's why they voluntarily did away with their army after World War II. And we protect Taiwan. But if the United States is in so much trouble that it has to protect itself, then they can't protect Taiwan. Why would you blow something up if you wanted it? China wants Taiwan, but it doesn't want to blow it up and have to rebuild it. So if they occupy us, and I mean keep us occupied, busy with a war, they can surround Taiwan with their ships and shoot down any airplanes trying to get in, and everybody will die in Taiwan, and then they can go in and mop it up, and everything still works. They don't even have to have buildings built. Don't have to have another power plant built. All of it will still be there running and going, and all they have to do is walk in and take it, kill a few survivors that are left.
Okay, so in my head, in my understanding, the United States, United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, those are the Ephraim, Joeseph tribes of the 10 lost tribes, the most powerful tribes. And all Bible prophecy that I read over and over again is that Assyria took out Israel the first time, Assyria is going to take them out the second time. And you're messing with my brain when you're saying Russia and China are going to attack the United States.
Okay.
And I have troubles with that for prophetic reasons. And I'm not saying I'm right, but how do you're looking at a geopolitical situation from your intelligence reports today, and I just have troubles with that, reconciling that with prophecy.
What is the ruling group of Chinese? Has been for centuries. It has been for millennia. One group of people rule China and have always ruled China. The Han Chinese. Where did the Han Chinese come from?
I don't know.
They were taken out of Israel by Assyria and sent into captivity. And in fact, I did a Bible study on it. And they ended up in a river valley. I think it was what river? I can't remember the name of the river right off the top of my head. But anyway, they ended up in this river valley, and they flourished. And they are prophesied to go back into Israel. And that's why I see a discrepancy between Revelation 9 and Revelation 16. Because we see an army of 200 million. And then we see what's going to happen in 16. It's the sovereigns of the East are going to return. Okay? I believe that at some point in time, they're going to figure out who they are, and they're going to return to Israel. Okay? I'll send you a copy of that study. I got some pictures from Brother Mark. Oh, it's been about a year ago, hasn't it, Brother Mark? Yeah. And I was sitting there, and I got to get Brother Mark to send me some pictures. I got to see what's going on in the stars at this time, and it matches up with what's going on in the stars at the time. So I believe the Han Chinese are going to really realize. I mean, when you look at the Han Chinese, these are big people. I mean, the other Chinese are not big people. These are big people that are very smart and very frugal. And I believe at some point in time, they're going to realize they're wrong and return to Israel. And it's prophesied in one of the books of Esdras that they would return. Okay, that actually, now here, think, remember that the Euphrates River will be dried up so they can cross and go back.
Yes, Euphrates River is going to dry up.
Assyria sent these people into bondage, and what we now know is China. They escaped into bondage, out of bondage, into China, and settled there. So that happened, like you were talking about, 701? No, 622, wasn't it?
Well, They went into captivity in 701 or 723. They went into captivity. Within 150 years, they were known as the Parthian Empire, fighting against the Romans. There's the eastern bunch of Manasseh called I forgot.
I didn't know we were going here, or I would have had the maps to show you the 4 different dispersions of the Israelites by Assyria, and one of them goes beyond India. That's all they know. It went beyond India. So I believe it ended up in this river valley, and there are commonalities, which of course I see commonalities in every language originating from Hebrew, but I see commonalities in modern Chinese or even ancient Chinese with Paleo Hebrew. So I didn't know we were going here, or I would have had some more material ready.
We never know where we're going when we get here.
Yeah, I know. But
Mark's going to save everything last we turn off the mic. So September 26th, you're saying Russia, China against the USA, stock market crash.
Yes, I believe there could be a market crash during that first week, September 26th to what? That would be the 30th right there, would be a market crash that would precipitate this war, which I believe the prime time for it taking place will be right around October 25th. The invasion, war, whatever, is going to start in Central Asia. It's going to start there. Whether there's going to be a bomb or some, I don't know, but the war is either going to originate from the countries, and that period of time is, the countries involved are Russia, China, India, Pakistan. Oh, wait a minute. I just read their names off a list there, didn't I? Okay. So these people are the center of Asia. Russia, China, and Pakistan and India are the center of China. That's where it's going to originate. Where is it going to take place? I think it could take place in America with a high probability. I am trying to come up with don't ask me why I do this. I don't know. I'm going to try to come up with the most logical battle plan for them to use. It's what I would do if I were going to pull off something like this. But I do want to have maps and drawings and things like that. Of course, I draw with a pencil. But anyway, I believe it's going to highest probability of it taking place. The day would be 7 days before November 1st and 7 days after November 1st. So November 8th and then back up in October, 7 days. That would be, 7 days would be October 25th, roughly. That's the eclipse. On either side are the eclipses.
So I have a comment here, and that is, I've noticed, if we look at your sabbatical cycle, Shemitah cycle, Joe, and it's kind of interesting is I went back every 7 years, 2001, 2008, 2015, all the way back to 1973. That whole oil embargo thing happened in September. And so you can plot this out. And so if this is correct, it's like Abba is causing this financial issue to happen in the 6th year so that the rebellious people never get to enjoy the 7th year of the Shemitah.
You may have a point. I took the Shemitah cycles and I did a teaching on it starting from the Industrial Revolution. There were certain people at the time saying that you could base every stock market crash on the Shemitah cycle. I said, okay. So I started to say that based on 2 Shemitah cycles where it happened 2 in a row. I thought, maybe. And so that was where I left it. But then they took it and they made millions writing a book about something that didn't happen. I went back to the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. I showed you every Shemitah. I showed you every stock market boom and every stock market bust. Every Jubilee year is a boom year. Every single one, guaranteed. every sabbatical year, Shemitah cycle, like flip a coin, you know.
So I have a question about you're talking about the Russians,
Sorry.
talking about the Hans over in, not Russia, the Hans in China waking up to who they are, like a lot of people around the world are waking up to who they are. What if this comet that goes into Andromeda, because you could look at Andromeda, the captive woman, as those who didn't, as Hosea said, you're no longer, you forget your identity, you're captive, you just don't. So I'm wondering,
just before you move on, just let me, because it also says in Daniel 9:27, you will be as if you never were.
Right. So could there be a connection? I'm just wanting to interject here. Could there be a connection with this Hans dynasty group? That would be awesome if they started coming into their identity in this time frame of this comet going through Andromeda. That would be a really interesting thing to happen, because that could change everything for the seed, the multitude that are growing into this people of following Torah. So I don't know, because that's a lot of people over there.
Yes, it is.
I don't know very much about the Hans people. This is the first time I've heard of them. I'm going to have to do some more research. But the only problem, not the only problem. The problem I have with what Cyrus is saying is it's almost like it's a year too early. In the captivity cycle, that whole thing should come after next year, 2023, which is a sabbatical year. Move into the next cycle, captivity cycle. That's when that should happen. That's when that should take place. But if all the patterns I see the Jehovah doing, that's when it starts, or that's when it's accomplished. But it starts back here before getting ready to get there. So yes, this could very well be something. I don't know.
Well, like I mentioned the other day, or was that 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when we were together, this cycle is going to be a war cycle. I mean, yes, I believe it'll start off with some financial calamity that will start or prompt the necessity of war. Okay. Now, I told you something big was going to happen from the end of the cycle to July 9th. Remember, I said something big was going to happen. We've had a lot of big things happen. This year. Yeah. Okay.
Now, just before you go ahead and say that, because of the schedule I'm on, July 9th is the 9th of Av.
Right.
Okay.
Some not good things happen around the 9th of Av.
No? Okay, so now carry on there, Cyrus.
Okay. Now, this group that I was telling you about last time that we talked, this kind of a Pan-Asian group, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, China, Russia, oops, there they are again, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, India, and Pakistan. Wait a minute, there they are again. Russia, China, India, and Pakistan. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization. That is this new Pan-Asian League that wants to be the G20 for Asia. Okay, they want to be basically the NATO for Asia. And we have 13 other nations applying for membership as of our last time that we talked. And then all of a sudden we see BRICS inviting Saudi Arabia, Iran, mortal enemies. But what is Putin talking about? putting away the old hostilities so that we could combat the mutual enemy. Okay? Iran would love nothing better than to be turned loose with nuclear weapons. Okay? And then Argentina. Why Argentina? What's Argentina always been about? Beef. Okay, the Spaniards landed there. They had cattle with them. The Indians ran them out. The cattle stayed behind. And when the Spanish came back, there were millions of cows all over Argentina. And so they have always been about farming, literally farming. They're a wheat grower. So is Brazil. Brazil, look at what Brazil produces: coffee, bananas, coconuts,
Iron.
iron. They have one of the biggest refineries in the world. St. Petersburg is the only one bigger that I know of. And they have had many gold discoveries. So you see, it's really about commodities. If you can bring your money to me and you can get something tangible for it, or do you want good faith and, promise of the United States government, which, wakes up in a different room every day, so they don't have much good faith and confidence.
Or they just print more money and they put sanctions on you using it.
Yes, exactly. So what we have now is a massive shift away from a petrodollar. Remember, I think I told you back 2 meetings ago that 80%, between 75 and 80% of all monetary transactions in the world was done in US dollars. As of 2 weeks ago, it was 49%, and it's dropping off faster and faster. People are getting sick and tired of inflation destroying the worth of the dollars they hold. I know that if you look at the Dixie, which is the dollar exchange, right now it's way up. It's over 100, about 105, 106, but it's the cleanest dirty shirt in the hamper is all it is. That's all it is. Every shirt in there is dirty. Everybody has fiat money, but fiat money is not worth the paper it's printed on, literally. Okay. So what we have is this massive move to get something for your currency. And people and a lot of countries' central banks are re-stockpiling gold now.
Yeah.
Okay. European countries, Asian countries, of course, the Arabs are always, their whole system is built upon gold and silver. So they've been stockpiling gold all the while. People want something tangible to hold in their hand for their currency. Because money is gold and silver. Currency is dollars and rubles and pounds and euros. Those are currencies, which don't really have any backing anymore. It used to be pound sterling, but they went off the sterling standard years ago.
So you're saying this is scheduled for September 26th. Mark
Yes.
is looking at September 26th, and I'm looking to August, September in 2023. When does this cycle end? If it's starting, it starts what, right about now? Is it starting and it's going to peak at that time?
The peak is November 1st.
Peak is November 1st. So the end of it is what?
December, okay, according to the moon, the end would be December 23rd. But it could, because it drops off very quickly, the end could actually be around the 12th, 13th, 14th, right in there. But even though it ends on the 12th or 13th, you've still got that 50% ambient going into the spring of 2023. So if the war doesn't break out in November, don't everybody go, I'm glad he was wrong. Hold your breath. We might be going into it in 2023. Right up to the feast days.
Yeah.
So this could be a very turbulent time. I believe that it could be the time that all the prophets wanted to see. And we're going to get to see it, unfortunately. Because there are other people a lot smarter than me out there saying that their belief is that 1/3 of humanity could be lost in this war.
Sounds like Revelation to me.
I think that was only a fourth, wasn't it?
There's a third, there's a fourth, there's a third,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember, but it could be.
We're coming into some very scary times.
Yes, sir. We are. And
Right.
I have been exhorting everyone in our call to put away food. We've got to prepare for the sabbatical year. So put away food. Put away food. Be obedient and put away food. And we get through the sabbatical year and nothing happens, you still eating your food, which is now more valuable than it was when you bought it.
Yeah.
Okay. We have one cabinet or pantry over here that we call our sabbatical pantry because stock it up for the sabbatical year. And we've learned that we stock that cabinet up plus what we can. That'll get us through the sabbatical year without having to grow anything. But if you would, go to my website, codgerville.wordpress.com, and just type in sabbatical garden up in the search box, and you'll see the stuff that we got out of our sabbatical year garden when we didn't even plant anything. Not only that, of course, we were letting the animals eat their share of it too. We got things we've never even planted on this property before.
I had garlic in my garden. I never planted garlic. The birds brought it. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how it got there. I wish I could, just find out how, but I don't care how. Y'all will put it there. That's all I care about. Okay.
Okay. Well, I think it's almost time to wrap up. And I'm afraid to ask. I'm going to ask Cyrus first. Have you got anything else you want to say? Because Mark always says no and then does right afterwards.
Well, let me throw out a couple more things just as kind of a proof text for we're in that period of time I mentioned in the meeting between June 29th and July 9th. The BRICS invitation went to Saudi Arabia and Argentina and Iran. Also, this past weekend, 4th of July weekend, G7 met in Spain and voted to increase their rapid deployment force from 40,000 to 300,000. And on Tuesday, there's a young man, former military, that has a website called Monkeyworks, and he has a YouTube channel, Monkeyworks. You can go back and look at it. Tuesday, flights started carrying troops over to Eastern Europe immediately after the 4th of July. Also, we have a lady in our Cahal who's originally from Romania, and she was talking to her family in Romania right before the 4th of July weekend. And they said, man, you should see all the troops around here. This is crazy. U.S. soldiers, everybody's, there's soldiers everywhere. Her hometown is like 40, 50 miles from the Russian border. Just confirmation that we're building up for something. Okay. G7 sanctioned Russian gold, which I'm sure that's breaking Putin's.
They sanctioned Russian gold?
Yes, they did. They sure did. Okay. Also, something that happened during this week, the California Assembly Bill number 5 was it was passed in 2018, was supposed to take effect in 2019. The California Teamster Union or somebody went to the federal court and got an injunction on it. It went up to chain to the appeals court for the 9th district, and they overturned the injunction on this California Assembly bill. It will put out of business or force to relocate 70,000 truckers who do business in California. You thought we had a supply problem before? Imagine 70,000 truckers going out of business. And they say it's already started. Okay? Just another little thing that might come up. Remember, I told you back in our private meeting that we had about the hypersonic missile that did test in June? Guess what? It was revealed this week that they were a failure. Our hypersonic missile doesn't work. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Russia has one. China has one. What do we have to defend against it? Not much, I'm afraid. Here's a neat little piece of information. The Army has dropped requirements for people going into the Army to have any kind of diploma. You don't have to have a GED. You don't have to have a high school diploma to go into the Army. And they'll pay you up to as much as $30,000 depending on how long you enlist. Are we getting desperate for bodies? I mean, I was around in the draft, so I joined the Air Force so I wouldn't have to go in the Army, and they stuck me with the Army. So somebody's getting desperate for human bodies. Okay.
There is something else, Cyrus, I just want you to comment on. Last time we talked, and I don't remember whether it's privately or publicly, you told us the rearming of the Stinger missiles.
Yes, sir.
And the rearming of the bombs and stuff for the Ukrainian army has depleted the European stocks and 30%
And the U.S. Yes.
30% of the U.S. stocks.
Yes.
And
Actually,
all the things that we need to rearm are found in China.
China. Yes, sir. In fact, there's an Undersecretary of Defense. Last name is Hicks. It's a lady, and she gave a report, 2 weeks ago, that we don't have even the tooling to make replacement parts if we had the material. But a lot of that stuff is superconducting material that comes from China, and China's not shipping any out. They're breaking up their lockdown, but they're not going to ship superconducting materials to people that don't like them. Another little thing that happened last week was G7 declared China an enemy.
Oh.
All of this happened in Spain over the 4th of July weekend. Saudi Arabia has been invited to BRICS. Where's Joe Biden going? Is it next week he's going somewhere? Oh, he's going to Saudi Arabia. I think he's going to do some knee bending to try to keep Saudi Arabia in the fold, the sheepfold. And then, if that wasn't crazy enough, somebody tried to blow up the Georgia Guidestones, okay? Or maybe it was Yah's lightning that did it. I don't know. But I've been looking at this, and I'm counting all the things that are going on. It's like, you can't keep up with it. It's happening so fast. You cannot. That's what I meant. It's going to seem like time has sped up. But it's events happening so quickly together. I'm expecting that, to me, tells me that's, if it was a person that blew it up, that's the beginning of the civil unrest cycle right there.
There's another prophecy in Daniel talking, I believe it's Daniel 11, where, or maybe it's Daniel 8, I forget, where it overflows the North Africa and the Middle East. And I'm wondering if that does not include Saudi Arabia in order to take care or supply the oil need that it needs for Europe, instead of those oil needs being taken over or siphoned over to China. Interesting times we're in.
Yes. Yes.
So I'd like to mention one of S. Bradley said, would love to have some practical advice on what to do now. So Brother Cyrus has been saying that you need to be buying food, you need to be preparing and getting ready. I think that we need to, all of our loved ones, if we can get these videos out to people that may not understand Torah, to get them to wake up, to see what's going on. Abba's doing these things around the earth so that people would be awakened and repent and return to him. That's the purpose of all of this shaking, is to get the world to repent and turn back to his ways. So getting this out to as many as you can so that they will wake up, so that they'll start searching their scriptures, so that they will repent and return, is a great thing. And preparing with, getting your household ready with, as Brother Cyrus said, food. I'd also be looking at places. Our congregation has purchased land. We've got over 100 acres that we're getting ready and to be prepared for. So I would be searching for places where people are going to be gathering when things get rough. This is things that you should be doing and getting aware of. So that's some things practically you can do, and pray.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
pray.
Absolutely.
But pray and study the Torah, because
Yep.
it really doesn't matter
Ready, pray, and keep Torah. Do Torah.
keep Torah, do Torah. It
Don't
doesn't
just
matter
study,
what
do.
you do. Jehovah's, it says in Amos, Jehovah does nothing unless he first tells his prophets. So we've been able to see these things coming. What do you do? Okay, I'm just gonna, Jehovah's gonna whatever. I'll wait for God to save me. It reminds me of that story. He threw out a boy to the guy that was drowning. He said, "No, God's gonna save me." Then he sent a boat. The guy said, "No, I'm not getting in. I'm waiting for God to save me." Then he sends a helicopter. The guy said, "No, I'm waiting for God to save me." He shows up at heaven, and Peter said, "What are you doing here? We sent you 3 things to rescue you. Why didn't you take one?" And don't be stupid. If you see, just look at the world since 2019. Wildfires after wildfires in Australia, pushing people into the ocean so fast. Wildfires across the United States, red skies at high noon, blood moons over and over again, and even a quarter moon. You shouldn't see a blood moon on a quarter moon. I've seen blood moons on every phase of after the full moon until it sets. Unbelievable. How can that be? And it's not even forest fire season yet. The war in Ukraine, the potential for a World War III, the shifting of the economies to the gold standard ruble. Like, who'd have thought of that? There's just so much going on that, like Cyrus said, I can't keep up to it. I've been warning you, Leviticus 26 for years. I can't keep up. And I just don't even try anymore. It's just so much going on.
One other thing to add, you asked me to mention this before we close about what I experienced at the Methodist Church this past weekend.
Yes. Just, ladies and gentlemen, you need to do all that you can do to get ready for the coming of our Messiah in the very near future. And again, look at the Jubilee cycle I'm showing you. If I'm wrong, okay, it says 2045. I don't care. You don't got many years. 20 years will go by so fast. And I'm saying you got less than 20. You got less than 11. I'm saying you got less than a few before the stuff starts happening. Now, on top of that, Mark's going to say this till afterwards, but Mark's got something about the Methodist Church, which I thought was just really cool to hear, because I'd almost given up on America.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because it kind of ties into everything that we've all been saying. Is we're seeing proofs and witnesses, and I like what you said, Joe. It's really important that we keep reminding people, quit blaming it on Joe Biden, quit blaming it on these other people. You said God is the one Yahweh is the one that's doing it. We've got to give the credit to who the credit is due. He's the one in control. He's doing it. So I was at I went to my home state, New Mexico. And I was doing did a live stream from there on Shabbat, and the Methodist Church allowed me to use their building. And so I went to, because I know who the pastor of the church is. He's coming to Torah. His eyes have been awakened. He's actually had his congregation studying the feasts and everything. So they're moving towards their eyes being open. And so he said, instead of a message, he wanted to share what happened at the General Council for the Methodist churches this past week. And he said when they went, they were showing how many was like 15 or 20 of the churches had closed down because the numbers had dwindled down to where they couldn't even keep it open. But he said that, and you probably saw on the news here just in the last couple of weeks, that a transgender person had been applied for to being ordained with the Methodist Church, the Methodist denomination. So they let everyone know at the council that they were probably going to accept that and allow it. And they said, if you basically, what the gist of it all is, if you want to disassociate with the Methodist Church, this is the way you would do so. So in talking with the people of the church, they said later, after we were having a little short Bible study after, they have no intention on following that they are more than likely going to disassociate. They said that we want to proclaim the truth here, and we want to follow the truth. We're not going to have any of this other stuff. So if this is happening in the Methodist Church, it's only a matter of time, and this is happening way faster than I thought it would. It's going to sweep through the other denominations where they're going to be pressured, like the Methodist Church is right now, to accept this kind of stuff, because Abba's testing the hearts of the people. Are you going to follow me, or are you going to do what these other people are suggesting and do something abominable? This is what's going to happen.
We know it's taking place in the Baptist Church because one of our members has a family member who is a Baptist pastor, and basically told the congregation, look, I got to keep the Sabbath. I've just got to keep the Sabbath. If y'all don't want to keep the Sabbath, okay, then I'll go somewhere else. It's like, no, wait a minute, don't just leave. Why? Why is it so important? And he told the congregation why it was important. Well, guess what? Now they're meeting on the Sabbath. Okay, and of course, it's what, hey, that's the first step. That's the first step. When you see that the Sabbath is important, then you can open your hearts to see that all the rest of Torah is important. Okay, so this is happening in the Baptist Church as well.
Yeah.
So what they're both saying, ladies and gentlemen, is you need to open your mouth. You need to start talking and not be afraid, and let people know that the God of the Bible is not dead, that he's acting, he's doing things out in front of us right now, in front of us every day. And if we return to him, we will be protected. But if we don't return to him, we don't keep the Torah, don't keep the Sabbath or holy days, then just you may as well roll the dice as whether or not you're going to survive what's coming.
Yeah.
Men will be more rare than fine gold. Cyrus.
One more thing. We're coming up on a sabbatical year. During Sukkot, we're supposed to read Sukkot publicly. Torah publicly.
In the sabbatical year.
In the sabbatical year during Sukkot. It's in Deuteronomy. It tells you, read this book of Torah. Okay? We did. And you wouldn't believe the responses that we got from people like, why are you doing this? And we had signs out there, Feast of Tabernacles, and what are these people doing, and why are they doing it? People come up and talk to us. We had all kinds of people come up. Oh, wow, I believe in I'm keeping the Sabbath, and I didn't know anybody else was. And oh my gosh, I'm keeping the feast. I didn't know anybody else in this area was. So we had just a whole outpouring of people wanting to know what we were doing. And of course, we had some people that were mad at us as well. But we did it right. And, the main part of town, right in front of the, our only store, right next to our only bank, and yeah. We did have a lot of good comments and interest. Gave out scriptures and everything.
We've also read the entire Torah, not the entire Torah, the entire commandments or the laws in the Torah in Jerusalem in the sabbatical year at Sukkot on the first day of the Feast of Sukkot. I've done it both times. I've only kept 2 Shemitas, so it just I just want to hug you, Cyrus, to hear you saying the things that I've been harping on, and you're saying the exact same thing. So that's awesome. Yes, read the Torah. And we just had Kenny Russell was here in my town, and he had a prayer meeting in the park, and we had people showing up out of the woods and wanting to pray with us and talk with us. And I didn't think there was anybody here, and it was awesome. So yeah, they're out there. People are looking for other people. Make yourself heard, and who knows what'll happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else, Mark, that you want to say? No. We have this recording. I'm going to pretend to turn it off here in a moment. Okay. Mark, would you like to close us out with prayer then, sir?
Sure. Father, we thank you so much for this time that we can come together. And Father, the things that you've put on each of our hearts to bring and share and show, Father, that we can all be enlightened, that we can understand the things that are coming, the things that you've declared and decreed, the things you've written in the heavens, and the things that are happening here on earth. Father, it is all by your hand. And Father, we pray that you quicken the hearts of men and women. That, Father, people would come to know you. People would turn to you. They would repent and come back to your ways. Father, that as you shake up the world, the people would turn away from the ways of the world, that they would turn to you. And Father, we pray that the insight and the enlightenment that have been shared today would be expanded upon, that as people come to understand these things, that people come to grasp it, more will come out of it. That, Father, you will open the eyes of everyone, and as these things have been shared, there might be hundreds of things come out of what we've said that we didn't even see. Open our hearts and our eyes that we might understand and know, and prepare your people, your children, for the days that are coming. We glorify you and praise you. In your Son, Yahushua's name, we give thanks. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
And if I can just sort of piggyback what Mark just said, and ladies and gentlemen, we got 3 people here, 3 different calendars. We don't agree on all things. Like, how can you agree with somebody that's bald? Like, come on. What I'm saying though, brethren, Keith Johnson says it all the time. Find the common ground.
Amen.
And work from there. Don't keep harping on their differences. Harp on the things that you got in common.
That's right.
It says in John, is it John or First John? You'll know them by their love for one another.
Yeah.
And in the since 2020, there's been nothing but backbiting and fighting and
Yep.
roasting brethren by brethren. Stop it. And learn to love each other, because if you don't, you're not going to be in the kingdom.
Amen.
So, okay, I'm going to say goodnight and thank you all for joining us. I'm going to pretend to hit the button here.
Shalom, shalom.
Just wait. He's going to say something.
Shalom, shalom.
Okay, shalom, everybody. Thank you very much. And again, share this and tell other people about it. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I don't know when the next meeting is going to be, but there could be a lot of stuff taking place. Okay,
Amen.